drives it into right center field, hit a ton. This baby is way back. Out of here.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball channel. Eric here, and today we're talking about what? The Hall of Fame. And this is one of my favorite times of the off season as we get closer to election day. I always look forward to it. I'm always eager to find out who's getting in, who's not getting in, and inevitably I'm always pissed off at some guys left off. Even when I expect it, there are still always some names that I think should get in. Typically, the guys who get in, I typically agree with. There's some exceptions, but I seem to be a generous voter. I'm not an official voter, but you know what I mean. I'm pretty generous in getting guys in. I feel like if you had a long career, you put up great numbers, and you deserve to get in. I'm going to say you deserve to get in, and I have a fairly high standard, but again, not as high a standard as a lot of people. And that's why I'm going to talk about a player today who I feel needs to get in. Omar Vizquel. Omar Vizquel was a shortstop who had an incredibly long career. We're talking a 24-year career, and he put up numbers offensively, but he was more known as a defensive wizard. Unbelievable at shortstop, the plays that he would make, and the guy was just incredible. He was in San Francisco for a short time, and that was absolutely thrilling, but he had a very long career. He played for multiple teams, which sometimes hurts your Hall of Fame chances. Honestly, shouldn't really be that way, but it kind of is, and Omar has played all over. I don't know if there's one team you think of when you think of Omar Vizquel. Maybe the Indians, the Cleveland Indians, but he has played for several teams. But Omar Vizquel, a great player, a great shortstop. Nobody would argue that. What you might argue, though, is whether he deserves to be in or out. And I say in. When it comes to getting in the Baseball Hall of Fame, there's always these milestones people tend to look at. They're not requirements, but there's certain milestones where if you hit this milestone, you're pretty much in. One of those have always been 3,000 hits. Like, 3,000, you're in. I never loved that because it's like, okay, what if I'm one short, all of a sudden I'm not in? Like, are you kidding me? Just because this little arbitrary number that has the zeros at the end, if I hit that, I'm in, but if I don't, I'm not. That's just stupid. But having said that, how many did Vizquel get? 2,877 hits. One more season and he's in. Half a season and he's got it. I mean, he is so close to 3,000. I call that 3,000. He's right there at 3,000 hits, came a little short, and this is for someone who is not known for his bat, but for his defense. But it's somebody who had a pretty damn good bat. He did not strike out. The guy was amazing at putting the ball in play. He averaged 45 strikeouts per season. Per season. Now, if that number doesn't mean anything to you, think about a baseball season. You're going to come to the plate 500 plus times, close to 600 times for a full season. To strike out 45 times against Major League pitching on average per season is freaking good. That is unheard of these days. So Vizquel knew how to put the ball in play. He knew how to get on base. And in that aspect, I feel like he was a pretty dang good hitter, even though he was known for his defense. And his defense was sick. Absolutely sick. When he would field the ball, as I noticed this when he was with the Giants, he would always take his time and he'd just throw the ball over to first and he would get the guy by a half step. He knew how fast every runner was coming out of the box. He knew how much time he had. He could just kind of fling it over at his own leisure and get the runner by a half step. And it was freaking sick. It was absolutely incredible, not to mention the amazing plays he made. And he won 11 Gold Gloves in his career. Only one shortstop won more, and that was Ozzie Smith. And now we're going to do a little comparison, because if you think, who's the perfect guy to compare him to? Who's a defensive wizard who made great plays in the field and wasn't known for his bat, who we feel like is a definite Hall of Famer? Ozzie Smith. Who is arguing that the wizard should not be in the Hall of Fame? Who's saying that he shouldn't be in? Everyone knows Ozzie Smith is a Hall of Famer. First ballot, no doubt, put him in. Ozzie Smith, Hall of Famer. Right? So we got to compare them. And when you look at their numbers side by side, how does Omar Vizquel not at least get consideration? Let's take a look at the graphic. Notice that Omar Vizquel is better in almost every category. At bats, hits, home runs, not even close. Not saying that he was a power hitter by any stretch of the imagination, but he had 80 home runs to Ozzie's 28. Batting average, 10 points higher. Runs, much more. RBIs, much more. Stolen bases, Ozzie Smith has the edge, but Omar Vizquel stole 404 bases. On-base percentage is almost equal. Ozzie has the edge. Slugging percentage, Omar. OPS, Omar. OPS plus, slightly Ozzie. They're pretty much equal in OPS. But what about fielding? Fielding percentage. What? Omar Vizquel's better. Errors. What? Even though Omar played in more games, he has far less errors. You might say, well, they played in different eras. You can't compare them. Well, actually, for 6 seasons, they were both in Major League Baseball, so their eras overlapped. So it wasn't that drastic of difference in the eras. Although, yes, when Omar Vizquel started getting into his career and into his stride, a whole bunch of shortstops started showing up. Cal Ripken Jr., for instance, Alex Rodriguez, guys who were just hitting bombs left and right, and it made Vizquel a little bit smaller in comparison. And yeah, that's a problem with Vizquel. If Vizquel started his career at the same time Smith did, or 10 years prior, or 10 years prior, or 10 years prior, or pretty much any point in time before he did, he's getting in the Hall of Fame like this. So I'm not saying he should get in 100% like everyone should vote for him. Obviously, he's on my ballot, but he's not getting much love for the Hall of Fame. And Omar Vizquel, what's the problem? The guy almost had 3,000 hits. The guy was better offensively than Ozzie Smith. The guy didn't make as many errors. He was absolutely amazing out in the field. He won a bunch of gold gloves. What do you got to do? He made a bunch of all-star teams. Now, there are going to be voters who say, well, but he never won an MVP. He was never even considered for an MVP. I don't even like that train of thought too much because, like, you can't help who else is in the league. If you're competing against Barry Bonds, especially Barry Bonds freaking enhanced, what are you going to do? You think you're going to win an MVP? It's tough to get considered for an MVP, but if you have a prolonged 24-year career where much of those years were excellence, especially defensively, yeah, you're not winning an MVP against the freaking guys that are in the league at that time. He played in the damn steroid era. I mean, what do you think he's going to do? Now, when you want to look at the advanced stats, the stuff that Brian Kenny talks about, the stuff that has formulas that I don't even understand, he does fall short in some of that stuff when you compare it to the average shortstop in the Hall of Fame. So I will say that that is a strong reason to not vote for him if you want to go with the advanced stats. And I'm not saying I'm going to ignore the advanced stats because they're still decent. His wins above replacement, his jaws, all those numbers are decent. But yeah, when you compare him to your average shortstop in the Hall, okay, he falls a little short. Is that all I'm going to go on? The advanced stats? No, personally, no. When you watch the guy play for 24 years, when you see him almost accumulate 3,000 hits, when you see a guy who could hit the ball like he could and put the ball in play, and when you see the way that he made his defensive plays and how many gold gloves he won and how many all-star games he appeared in and how good he was and how much he helped those Cleveland Indians teams get to the World Series, even they didn't win it, but they got to the World Series. And, you know, now I watched him with my own eyes in San Francisco for a few years. That might help also. But all in all, I'm putting him in. That's all there is to it. And I got to put him in, and he's on my ballot. So what do you guys think of Omar Vizquel? I think he's a Hall of Famer. My ballot will be coming public here in a couple days. I am just looking it over and making sure I'm happy with it. Right now I got 10 names on it, which is the max you can have on it. There's going to be a lot of explaining to do when I put that ballot out and you see some of the names on there, but I'm ready for it. And we're going to be talking Hall of Fame over the next few days because it's an exciting time. Omar Vizquel's today's topic. What do you think? Is he in? Is he out? Thank you for joining me on today's video, and thanks to the new subscribers. I really appreciate it. Having a lot of fun here talking baseball at the Humm Baby Baseball channel. Don't miss it. Hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed. Hit the thumbs up, and I really do appreciate it. We'll be talking more soon. See ya!
When the Giants come to town, it's bye bye baby. Every time the chips are down, it's bye bye baby. History's in the making at Oracle